This is Radio London. And now we present Bassett's Jelly Baby Show.
My fruit babies, fabulous sweets, they're Bassett's Jelly Babies. Lots in a box, so shop, shop, shop for Bassett's Jelly Babies. Yeah, Bassett's Jelly Babies.
Radio London's DJ, Kenny Everett, is in the States. For why? He's with the Beatles! Direct from Chicago, Kenny Everett reports to Paul Kay on the day-to-day developments of this controversial tour.
At 12:30 on Pan American's Flight 57, Boeing 707, and the Beatles were guarded from view of the prying teenage passengers by a curtain which was drawn between compartments, the first and second. And there were lots of kids in the plane trying to get through the first-class section to ask for autographs, and the stewardesses had a fantastic time keeping back the crowds. And John Lennon even threatened to sing a few verses of Yellow Submarine to shut them up.
And then what?
Well, we arrived in Boston, which was the first stop, at 7:30 English time, which is 2:30 USA time, to another barrage of press. We weren't really supposed to land in Boston. It was supposed to go straight on to Chicago. But the plane radioed ahead that they would be landing, and we managed to muster up about 300, 400 fans in Boston Airport at very short notice. We only stayed for about 5 minutes before we went over to Illinois, Chicago, and our first major stop. About 4,000 kids in Chicago Airport, and they missed the Beatles because the Beatles stopped off at the runway about 400 yards ahead of the airport and dashed away in a limousine.
Was this intentional?
Yes, I think it was, because there was a little crowd of
Boys and girls, I hope you're enjoying this show, and I'd just like to briefly remind you before we play more music and go back to Kenny in Chicago that this is being presented by Bassett's Jelly Babies. They're available everywhere. Britain's best loved sweet.
Say hi to Paul and John.
You like Paul and John, do you?
I think Paul's sweet.
Why do you think he's sweet? What's different about him than any other average, typical young lad?
Oh, he's got beautiful eyes. Great big,
A lot of the questions were about the actual performance they were going to do, although none of us press people knew anything about it yet. A few of the numbers they do play, however, were released to us by Tony Barrow, the press secretary, and I was able to answer one of the girls when she said, which numbers are they doing? They start off with rock and roll music.
Oh!
You like that one?
I love it.
And then they do, Babies in Black.
Do they do Long Tall Sally?
Yeah.
Kansas City?
No, they don't. They only do two screamers. They do rock and roll music at the beginning and Long Tall Sally at the end.
Ended at the last time, wasn't it? Yeah, in Labor Day, when they came the first time, they ended with Long Tall Sally.
Yeah. Did they all go wild?
Oh, everybody.
They're a pretty enthusiastic audience, so they're usually this hot.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You know, it's a different crowd, though. When we came to see the Stones, the kids were really, they're really different, you know, like the village kids and that. And now, I don't know, the kids are really different here, but they really like the kids, the groups that come, and everybody gets greeted really good. I think they're great kids, really.
You're all in favor of teenagers.
Yeah, I think they're great.
Which one do you like the most out of all the Beatles?
I like Paul, but I think John's sexy.
You think he's sexy?
Yeah.
What do you think of George?
I think he's very quiet, but he's sexy too.
He's very deep, George.
Yeah, he's quiet, isn't he? Yeah, I thought so.
And what about Ringo?
No, I don't like Ringo.
Coming on stage, they're dressed in white, all of them. John, Paul, George, and Ringo. Here they come. Oh boy, I've never heard anything like this in my life before. Everybody is standing up, screaming, waving banners, waving their arms. The Beatles are tuning up now, ready to give their first number. All is just wave to the audience, as you can hear. John is stooping over, tuning his guitar, and Ringo is twiddling with his stick. Yes? John has just said his customary, hello, how are you? pretty soon after they start their first number, we've got to scoot out of here and get into the Greyhound bus, which takes us over to Cleveland, and we arrive at 3 o'clock tomorrow morning. There they go. I think they're about to start any second now. Millions of flashbulbs still going off. Rock and roll music, the first cue. And here it comes, courtesy of Radio London.
She said me is the mother rock and roll music. Any old way you choose it. It's got a backbeat.
It's sort of like Shea Stadium in New York, only I think a little larger. There are all officials around the stage, which is about 100 yards away from me, and the Ronettes, right at this moment, are on. The Beatles are on in about 10 minutes, so I'd just like to describe the scene for you. The back of the stadium is completely empty because they can't see the Beatles from there, but the front is completely filled. In fact, they say that this is the largest audience the Beatles have ever played to this particular tour. You know, over the past few days, we've had huge audiences, but this just about tops the lot. There are the usual banners. I'll just read a few off. We love John, Paul, George, Ringo, in huge black and white letters over to my right. Right now, I'll describe my actual position in the place here. Just imagine, I don't know whether you've ever seen a baseball pitch in a stadium in America, but you can just imagine a whole thing like, something like Wembley Stadium, okay? Well, the crowds, I am right in the middle of this stadium, sitting on the grass. The stage is just forward to my right, and I'm just sitting here with my tape recorder. The crowd are they look about half a mile away, but that's just comparative. It's just the size of the place. And there are the two, just directly to my right, there are the two black limousines in which the Beatles will be taken away just after the thing has been completed. Ronette's still singing in the background. The limousines, there are two of them. The Beatles are usually hustled into the first one after the thing is finished. The front one, has the door open right at this moment, ready to receive the Beatles, even though they haven't got on stage yet. Everything is prepared. The motor is running from the first number that they start. The motor is switched on, the doors are open, and everything is ready to take them away just in case of emergency. Just come up to me now in the middle of the stadium is a police officer. You're from what force?
Suburban. I'm from Prince George.
You have a few daughters who are Beatle fans, yes?
5. They are Beatle fans. They're right out here now.
Really?
Yeah.
Whereabouts are they in the audience?
I don't know. They're around in that crowd somewhere. I just turn them loose.
Are you a Beatle fan yourself?
Well, I like them. I like their music. We got quite a few of their records.
You like their type of music?
Well, it's great.
What do you think of the crowds here tonight? Do you think they will push through the barriers and try and get to the Beatles?
Yeah, they're going to try to do it, but we got enough men to stop it.
Are you sure?
Oh, yeah, we'll stop it. See what they're going to do. The Beatles are going to get in the cars, and we're going to get them out right away, see? So if they come on the field, no problem. There won't be any Beatles here. See? But we got to get them out of here. So they'll mob them, you know. I mean, they're just not to hurt them anything. They're just like them, that's all. We got about 30,000 teenagers here.
30,000?
Yeah, it's about 30,000 here. You would think so, but you look at it. See, this holds 50,000. Yeah, so it's about 30,000 here now. They sold $30,000 worth of tickets.
Well, there you go. That was an interview with one of the local police who just wandered onto the field. There are lots of them here, but I don't think they're going to contain the crowds tonight. I think there's going to be another big breakthrough, and I think that the crowds are going to dash forward in their thousands and try and get at the Beatles. Like the officer said, it's not because they want to injure the Beatles, of course. It's just because they like them so much. Everything is just about ready to see the Beatles come on stage. The Ronettes have just left the stage, and the local MC from the radio station is announcing their departure, and I think he's going to bring on the Beatles any second now. The crowd are all clapping in wild, hairy anticipation. I think... No, not yet. Not yet. There's so many screens, you never know which one it is. I think this is it. All the flashbulbs are popping. Yes, here come the Beatles. Britain's emissaries to the States. Dashing on stage at this very moment, dressed in green. Well, you can hear the audience reaction. You know, waiting for the Beatles to come on stage is just like waiting for an atom bomb to go off. Climbing on stage now, John, Paul, George and Ringo, ready to lunge into their first number. They have to do a bit of messing about with the amplifiers before they start, but that usually takes only about half a minute. I think that first number may be the same as yesterday. In that case, it'll be rock and roll music.
The reaction has been different and it's changed. In fact, how I can see our career now, it's gone almost through a complete change. From when we first started in Germany, we were very much more popular with the lads than with the girls. And slowly we built up a following. We used to play good on stage. We used to, we were really swung together in the old days. The more fame and that we got, the more people who came about to see us. And it got into the time when there was just thousands of girls everywhere and everybody making a noise. And so that nobody could hear us anyway. So over the last 2 years, nobody's heard us on stage. So consequently, our performances have deteriorated to such an extent now that, really our stage shows are terrible. But, they can't hear it and we can't hear it. That's why it's terrible. And now I've got the feeling that there's lots of the girls are dropping off and there's more of the lads coming back in, especially since our last 2 albums. As I'm sure we got more of the lads back again, and we're sort of coming. So the quieter our audiences get, which they will if more boys start coming than girls, then the better we'll start to get again on stage until we've completed the cycle.
You don't have time to be nervous with shoes and things, because you just sort of feel a clonk on the back of the head and you look down. Shoes! Yeah, and once one comes, they all start thinking, shoes, that'll attract their attention. If they get a shoe on their head, they're bound to look over here. They just look around and see if it was,
Have you ever kept anything that's been thrown at you?
Yes, or not. I always scout round looking on stage and tell Mal, pick that up, get that. He usually picks them all up at the end anyway. Before the sort of scavengers leap on, all the sort of attendants and all, just pinch anything that's worth having.
Do they ever throw money?
No, don't even mention that. It'll start a craze for money throwing.
Well, it would be better than something.
I don't want money, though, it hurts. Yeah, listening to the Kenny Everett show now, I think. And why doesn't Kenny play a record for us, eh, Ken?
Wonderful.
Thank you, George.
Goodbye.
If you had a show on the radio,
yes,
and you had 3 hours to do what you liked in, if you didn't have to play records, would you philosophize or just do a normal radio show?
Neither. I'd just do good fun and laughs, I suppose, and a few sounds.
You think it's good to hear somebody having a good time on the air?
Just a few, just something nice to hear. I wouldn't mind doing shows like that. Make them at home.
Do you really?
I quite fancy it, Paul and I often talk about it.
Do you have tape recorders in your house?
Yes, a few.
And you just chat away?
Yes, and do loops and whatever you do.
Loops. Now this is a thing.
Yes, loops.
Yeah, from Tomorrow Never Knows, Paul said that he just took a few of his loops to the studio.
Yes, he made them at home on his tape, in the key of whatever the key was, and they were just nearly in. And we had 6 fellows with pencils holding them on.
Yeah.
On 6 machines, and very desirable, the whole effect, I thought.
Brian, how does this tour compare with last year's?
It's phenomenal, actually. It's much better all round. From the point of view that there's much more interest, and actually we're playing to bigger audiences than we've ever played to. And this probably might sound a bit odd because people have been saying, things about diminishing popularity and so on. But all that, one can go by is what sort of attendances we're getting at the concerts, and they're absolutely huge. I think that by the time we leave here, the Boys will have been seen by about 400,000 people.